Hi, my name is Justin Johnson, and today I'd like to demonstrate how Workspace ONE can simplify and secure access to an on-premise Horizon environment. To begin with, I want to focus on conditional access policies and how they allow us to set authentication requirements based off of a user's current context. Even more specifically, I want to zero in on the ability to define these conditional access policies based off of AirWatch device compliance. Essentially, we can take what we know about the security posture of an AirWatch managed device and then tighten or loosen authentication requirements accordingly. An excellent way to demonstrate this is to show the simplified access I enjoy to my own on-premise Horizon environment through an AirWatch managed iPad. After providing this demo, I want to unpack it a bit and illustrate how the underlying Workspace ONE components make the experience possible. In particular, I want to focus on the roles played by Identity Manager as well as AirWatch, what's being called Workspace ONE UEM nowadays. Here you can see the home screen on my iPad. To get access to my virtual desktop, the first step is to load up the Workspace ONE Intelligent Hub mobile application. After it's done loading up, I'm presented with a number of entitlements, including the entitlement for my desktop. To get access to that desktop, I simply tap on the icon. And at this point, single sign-on kicks into gear. And I'm going to get completely connected and authenticated to that virtual desktop without any additional prompts for authentication or additional security. I'm just going to get connected right through. Now, this very simplified and convenient access to my virtual desktop is very much predicated on the fact that this is an AirWatch managed device that's compliant according to AirWatch device compliance policies. These policies dictate security requirements like having a passcode, being encrypted, or being a certain OS level. And it's by virtue of being compliant according to these policies that I'm provided with this very simplified access to my virtual desktop from this device. Now, conversely, if this device wasn't compliant, I could be denied access altogether or might receive additional prompts for additional authentication, say for instance for my AD credentials or even two-factor. This is a graphical representation of the access scenario that was just demonstrated. To begin with, you have a user accessing the Workspace ONE Intelligent Hub mobile application on their iOS device. Intelligent Hub is essentially a next-generation AirWatch agent that includes all the functionality normally associated with the AirWatch agent, plus additional capabilities like an app catalog. Up till now, if you wanted the full-blown Workspace ONE experience on a mobile device, you needed to install both the AirWatch agent and the Workspace ONE mobile app. Now, all this functionality has been combined into a single agent, the Workspace ONE Intelligent Hub. When accessing the app catalog through Intelligent Hub is essentially acting as a faceplate for the access portal provided by Identity Manager. Behind the scenes, Identity Manager is providing all the same functionality it normally does, including access policies, enforcing authentication requirements, and providing single sign-on. Then underneath it all is AirWatch, providing traditional mobile device management capabilities we're all familiar with. It's automating the configuration of that underlying device. It's laying down prerequisites for Horizon access. It's securing that device. And most notably, it's vouching for the security posture of that device via AirWatch device compliance policies. And it's by virtue of being compliant with these policies that we're able to provide this very simplified, convenient single sign-on access from Intelligent Hub without and feel confident about providing that access without requiring additional authentication. At this point, I'd like to demonstrate what access looks like from this iPad when it's in a non-compliant state. I've gone ahead and assigned an AirWatch device compliance policy that mandates a version of iOS that is a level above what I'm currently running on my iPad. Accordingly, my iPad is now showing up as non-compliant. So at this point, if I go back to the Hub application and try to launch my virtual desktop, it starts off similarly as before. However, instead of getting connected to my virtual desktop, because of the compliance violation, I get this access denied message. I also get a little bit of information about the compliance policy that's been violated. The iOS version must be 12.0.1 or above to be compliant. Now, at this point, in a real-world production environment, you could just take the stance that, hey, if someone is on a non-compliant iOS device, they can't get access to this virtual desktop. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. However, an alternative is to set a fallback authentication mechanism. So in case the device isn't compliant, you can allow your users to use another form of authentication to get connected to their virtual desktop. Here I'm going to go to the policy and I'm going to add the fallback method of just plain Jane AD authentication. And now that that policy is in place, when I go back to my iPad and tap on the desktop entitlement, instead of getting a nasty error message, I'm redirected to a prompt for my AD credentials. And after providing my AD credentials, I'm provided access to my virtual desktop. So we have the same access policy in place, with the primary authentication mechanism being mobile SSO based off of AirWatch device compliance. However, should that fail, I'm allowing users to fall back to just their plain Jane AD credentials to get connected to their virtual desktop. Now, prior to Workspace 1, conditional access policies were defined based off of a user's device type, network location, or AD group membership. And this capability is still very relevant today. And we can combine these variables with variables we know about the underlying device through AirWatch to create a very comprehensive and adaptable set of access policies. In my mind, the ability to set authentication requirements according to the network location that a request comes from, I think that's very relevant. So I want to demonstrate that for you briefly right now. Here I'm connected to the internet via a mobile hotspot to simulate connecting to Workspace ONE from an untrusted network. Now, if I try to access my virtual desktop from this untrusted network, I'm prompted for two-factor authentication through Radius. So I'm going to go ahead and punch in that Radius passcode right now. And only after I've authenticated through Radius am I allowed access to my virtual desktop. And this is by design. My access policies have been configured so that if someone's connecting from an untrusted network, from an unmanaged device, a two-factor authentication is an absolute requirement. Now what I'm going to do is sign out and disconnect from my hotspot and get reconnected from a trusted network. And as before, I log in initially to Workspace ONE with just my AD credentials. However, now that I'm connected from a trusted network, when I go to launch my desktop, I'm not prompted for Radius authentication. Instead, I'm going to get connected to my virtual desktop through the same AD credentials that I use initially to log into the Workspace ONE portal. So the same desktop, the same user, but when I'm connected from an untrusted network, I'm required to use two-factor authentication. When I'm connected from a trusted network, I'm able to use just AD credentials to get access to my desktop. To summarize, conditional access policies are a mature capability offered through Identity Manager for quite some time now. Originally, they were all about being able to set authentication requirements at a per application level based on a user's device type, network location, or AD membership. However, in the context of a full-blown Workspace ONE deployment, conditional access policies get a real kick in the pants. By virtue of the integration between Identity Manager and AirWatch, we can inform these conditional access policies with information about a user's underlying device. We can take into consideration attributes of that device that lead to its overall security posture, then appropriately tighten or loosen up authentication requirements. This leads to a set of access policies that are more adaptable and user-friendly without sacrificing on security. For more information, check out these additional resources. Thank you for your time.